Blind Guides Episode 4, Interview with Ryan, the amazing blind magician.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Blind Justice channel and to our new series that we're doing called Blind Guides. With us today, we have Ryan with the YouTube channel, The Amazing Blind Magician. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
So Ryan, tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel and what it is you do.
Well, the title of the YouTube channel basically is because I have spent the last 25 years of my life learning the art and craft of magic, stage illusion and close-up magic for the last 25 years, but I've been doing it trying to find loopholes for a blind person to perform it. So basically the routine will look the same as if a sighted person is doing it, but there are slight alters to it for a way for me as a visually impaired person to perform it. It looks the same, but there are different ways of doing it.
I bet. Like that's fascinating because like the it seems like like you said, stage illusion, and I think illusion is the kind of key word there, and it has to do with vision. It has to do with a component of sight. So well,
also come up with some tricks that actually can be performed on people who are completely blind, and it still blows them away because it not only uses feel, but it uses a lot of audio cues in it as well, so they can feel and hear what is happening, but yet what happens in their hands just doesn't make sense to them.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I was just thinking, like you said, you had to use some workarounds. Just trying to wrap my head around how you would figure some things out. From a non-visual standpoint. I think in some ways you might have an advantage to mark different things with some subtle tactile things, but yeah, that's interesting, really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's a show on that is for magicians. It's called Penn and Teller Foolish. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a trick. This is the hardest subject to pull off for me because of having to find the loopholes. It is the subject of what's called mentalism, which is where you can read people's minds or you can make predictions before they happen.
Sure.
As a performer, it is a very visual thing that you need in order to pull those things off. So it's very difficult for me to try and find the loopholes to do that, but I do have one that Penn and Teller do know the original method, but I have a method, and I've done research on this through the Society of American Magicians, the International Brotherhood of Magicians, as well as the Magic Castle. And so far, I am the only person in the world that uses this method. So I'm pretty sure I could fool Penn and Teller if I ever got on that show.
Yeah. Have you put in submitted an application or request for that yet?
I have, yes, yeah. But COVID-19, they're kind of on hold right now.
Okay. Yeah, there was another blind magician on there that did a card trick that was pretty crazy.
Yes, he actually refers to himself to as a card mechanic because he can do stuff with cards that seriously even because I play with cards all the time.
Yeah.
And so things on there where I'm looking at it even with a magnifier and I still can't see what he's doing.
Well, tell us about your level of visual impairment and like when that started and your journey with that.
Okay. Well, I don't exactly know the number. People say like, okay, I have 20/20 vision. I don't know the number, but at least I can put it this way. When I was 9 years old, I was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor called medulloblastoma, and I was literally about 4 days away from death. When they submitted me into the hospital, I mean, before all that, we knew there was something wrong. I was having loss of balance, loss of sight, being nauseous all the time. And and so on and so forth, without having to get graphic. And it wasn't until we actually had a family friend, her husband was an ophthalmologist, and he said, well, I don't know if I can do anything, but let him come around to my house, spend the night with my 2 kids, and see what I see. And it wasn't until like 2 o'clock in the morning he woke up and realized it's cancer. So the next day they rushed me to the hospital, had me have an MRI, and sure enough, there is a brain tumor that is positioned right on my brainstem that's about the size of a grapefruit.
Wow.
So they rushed me into the hospital. They did the operation on it, and that's when they say, your son is literally 4 days away from dying. But I mean, 25 years later, I'm still here and kicking, so you can't get rid of me now.
So describe what your vision is right now.
Well, because of the brain tumor, it was putting pressure on the optic nerves. So I have optic nerve damage through that. Plus, the fluid buildup putting pressure on my brain has also affected my balance. And I do have a slight learning disability, but with my vision, I guess you could say I'm very nearsighted. I have almost to no peripheral vision, very low depth perception. For me right now, it's like I look around and everything has a shape and a color, but there's no description to what I'm looking at unless I hold it really close up to my face.
Okay.
You use magnifiers. I actually have here, this is a Pebble HD. So I use that. I also have what's called an iris vision.
Okay.
Which is like a VR headset that you put over your eyes, and you can focus it to what your vision is to make things clearer. And it's almost like seeing in 2020, but with the lack of peripheral. I mean, I'm also at the point of using voiceover on like iPhones and iPads, the Zoom function. I also have a guide dog.
That's Sinbad?
Yeah, she's a black Labrador retriever. She's about 3 years old.
Yeah.
And we actually just celebrated our 1-year anniversary together.
Nice. I was listening to some of your videos before this interview, just to kind of familiarize myself with your channel a little bit. Heard you talking about Sinbad, and I think you're out on a walk and doing stuff. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with Sinbad, with the school that I got him from, they usually don't do this, but someone donated the dog to the school because usually they use their own breeding system.
Right.
And well, he was perfect for me. He really was. And I loved him to death. But unfortunately, after 2 years of having him, he started showing these weird symptoms where he would throw up, but it wasn't, what it should be. It was actually like a white froth.
Oh, wow.
And we took him to the vet, and we tried multiple things with him. And then one day, I like to go to Comic-Con. I'm a bit of a nerd. So we actually at Comic-Con, and one of my friends said, I don't think he's gaining weight, because I thought he was gaining weight. And I was exercising him. But he said he looked more bloated. And then one day he just got so big, we ran him directly to the vet. And they discovered that it was because of one of two reasons. One of he's either not getting protein or he's not getting enough protein. And because of that, that was causing his cell walls to deteriorate, and all the liquid in the cells were draining into his chest cavity. So that's what all that liquid was. And the first time we drained him was about 5.5 liters of fluid. And we did that for a couple of days. And then the last day we did it, it was about 7.5 to almost 8 liters. And they just said, look, it's either, you give him this for the rest of his life, he will have to retire, or you can do what's best for him. And well, we had to put him down. Which was a tragedy, but I kind of felt that that was supposed to happen because when I went back to the school to get Tia, my second dog, um, the head of the administration office apparently was stalking me without me knowing it.
Hmm.
And literally on graduation day, he said, we've been following you this whole time. We've been giving you we've been interviewing you without you knowing it. And we want you to work here because he was impressed with how I know like the ADA. I know the ADA inside out.
Yeah.
I actually start my new job next month. I'm actually traveling to California by the end of the month.
Cool. Working with the guide dog.
That's the school.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
It's Guide Dogs of the Desert.
Okay. Guide Dogs of the Desert.
Yeah. So it's in California, so just outside of Palm Springs. So I currently have an apartment just 5 minutes outside of Palm Springs downtown.
Nice. So you're a dog user. Now, do you use a cane as well? Or, do you alternate sometimes or?
It is required to always have a cane on you. Because they're dogs, they're not always perfect.
Right.
There are days where they just either don't want to work or they could be sick. And on those days, you just want to let them be at home and just rest up. So you definitely should always be a cane user at the same time.
What kind of cane do you use and what kind of tip?
I use just a regular white long cane, foldable, and I prefer rolly tips than just any other like pencil tips.
Yeah.
Mostly because of the experience of having it stick in a crack and then all of a sudden you get pain in your gut.
Right. There was a company that just a few months ago came out with a cane called the NoJab Cane, but I think they're not shipping anymore. I don't know if they're having problems with this, everything being shut down or what, but I was looking forward to trying that out, but I don't know if they're sending those out anymore. Okay, so we got mobility. What about do you use any kind of obstacle detection device like a Sunu Band or a buzz clip?
I personally do not, and that's mostly because I haven't heard of them before.
Okay. Yeah, they're pretty neat. They're sonar, and then they vibrate. Like if they detect an obstacle, the buzz clip, you kind of clip it on about chest level somewhere, and the Sunu Band goes on your wrist.
That's cool. I've used a laser cane in the past.
Okay.
But they're not exactly my favorite thing to use.
Yeah. What about navigation? Do you use any kind of app or different tool for navigation to help you know where you're going, where things are?
I used to. I forget the name of the app. Basically, it was like a GPS, but for walking instead of driving, and it would give you step-by-step instructions on how to get there.
I use Blind Square. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just that my mobility level right now is to the point where I can just research it and just knowing the area so well.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy.
Cool. What about, let me think about in the kitchen, any kind of devices and tools or tips and tricks that you use in the kitchen for preparing meals and things like that?
Yes. I have I forget what it's called. Most likely because I can't read it. But it's a slicer. It's kind of like a rectangle Tupperware container.
Okay.
But you this slicer on top, so you can cut up your vegetables in like half a quarters, and you stick it on top, and it's this grid of blades.
Right.
So lower the lid on top of it, and it will dice everything.
Cool.
I use that. I have levelers that you're sticking glasses, and it will tell you when it's getting full.
Yeah, liquid level indicator. Yeah.
Yeah. I also use what's called a hotshot. This is not necessarily a device for the visually impaired, but I did a program through the Foundation for the Blind, and they recommended it. And the thing's awesome. It's basically you open the top, you put the amount of liquid in your mug so that you have enough space if you're having like coffee and you want to put creamer in it. And you just put that water on the top, push a button, it will boil. And then when it's done boiling, you just put your coffee, like instant coffee in your mug, stick it underneath, the water drains right into it. And it's just the perfect level.
Oh, okay. What group was that you mentioned? I mean, tell me both groups.
It's vocational rehabilitation.
Okay. So I guess the question I'm trying to ask, and I'm butchering it, is what kind of training / schools have you gone to help you learn, assistive tech, mobility, tips and tricks for how to adapt and cope and live in, the world today with visual impairment?
Well, I mean, I've been with the Foundation for Blind Children for years, and I've done independent living programs to them, how to cook and everything. 5 years ago, I went back for tech and to refresh myself on Braille. I am a Braille reader. I do have a Braille display, but I'm having that replaced through rehab. So 5 years ago, like I said, just freshing up on Braille, tech, again, just refreshing everything in the kitchen and mobility.
Is that a state-run program?
It is government.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Well, no. Foundation for Blind is. Voc Rehab is government.
Okay. And I think would it be a state or federal level? Do you know?
I would think state.
Yeah, I think a lot of these are either state or regionally run.
Yeah,
there's some things that are federal, like the Library for the Blind, the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go into that. What kind of reading devices do you use? How do you consume books, or do you?
Mostly when it comes to books, I use Audible.
Okay.
But I, like I said, I have a device called an Iris Vision. So if it's something where I have a document given to me, I will use that to read it. I also have, like I said, the Pebble HD, but I'm getting that upgraded to a new magnifier device that can also scan and read.
Nice.
And I'm also getting my hands on an Orcam MyEye. So with me working at the school, if I need to go to someone's room, I can just point to the name on the room and then know whose room it is.
Right.
Plus, what's important is that the latest Orcam MyEye can actually do up to 8 facial recognitions. So you take a picture with a camera that sits on the side of your glasses.
Right.
And then you just program their name into it with your own voice. Mm-hmm. So every time you look at someone, it will tell you who you're looking at.
Yeah, and the Orcam is one of several wearable cameras that are made specifically for the visually impaired community. Have you heard of the Aira?
I have heard of the Aira. I haven't had the pleasure of trying it out, but I have heard good things about it. I did try eSight.
Okay.
Which I'm not saying it's a bad product. It's a wonderful product. It just didn't work with me. Most likely because I literally need the screens right at my eyes.
Yeah. Whereas
the Iris Vision does that. The lenses literally are right in front of your eyes. Whereas the eSight, they're like a couple of inches away from your eyes, and I was still struggling to try and see what I was looking at.
Okay. Let's see where we are. Yeah, what kind of tools, or what do you do for note taking? How do you take notes?
Let me grab it here. I actually have a oh boy, I hate it when this happens, when you know what it is, but the name is not there.
Yeah.
Well, it's just an electronic note taker. You can just record anything that you're doing. So if I'm like in a class or a program or something, I can just record it through.
So it's primarily audio recording?
Yeah, audio recording. And I also have my Braille display, which I use that for.
Do you use any kind of video recorder for note taking, or have you considered using a, some kind of camera for getting video notes in addition to audio notes?
Pretty much my iPhone.
Yeah.
I just take do not disturb, and I have a mini tripod plus a cell phone mount, which I'm actually using right now.
Right.
So usually I just use that, and I just record the entire session.
Yeah. Can you talk to us about the importance of having the video notes in addition to having audio notes? Like,
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm not saying it would work for people who are fully blind. I would definitely go for the audio. But if you do have some vision to the point that if you have your face close enough to the device for you to see everything, just being able to zoom in, so you're actually zoomed in on the person that's giving the lecture, or the professor at a college. At least you can see the visual cues of what they were talking about, even if they're pointing at a picture. With it zoomed in, you can still see that. And even with the zoom function on your phone, if you have that turned on, you can zoom in even more, so you can get even more better detail.
right.
So at least you can get more of a distinctive picture in your head of what they are talking about.
Now, would you do you think that there'd be benefit to somebody who has less vision than that, where magnification wouldn't help? So in my case, magnification doesn't help me, but I take video and audio notes, and then I play it back for my wife or somebody that I trust who can review it with me and explain the visual components of the conversation or the lecture. Do you see that be a benefit to people with that level of vision?
Yeah, I definitely would, especially like you said, you have your wife to help you with that, so that she can watch it and then go over it with you in detail. That definitely is going to be able to help, because description for anyone that's either, whether they're fully blind or just visually impaired, description is everything.
Yeah. Do you
With like movies, they have audio descriptive devices.
right?
Even Plus has gone full ADA, where everything on Disney Plus has been audio described.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you what if you have that setting turned on, and like what platforms you enjoy watching content with the audio description turned on.
Yeah, I would say Netflix, Amazon. I would turn that function on your phone, because not everything on Amazon Prime Video is audio described. But pretty much everything on Disney has already been auto described, so you don't really need that function on your phone turned on for that.
Yeah, it's really great. And even with that, like I quote unquote watch movies and TV with my kids and with my wife, and with the audio descriptions, even when and it's not one size fits all, because the describer, the skill level, and how they their tone and their speed and how good they are varies from show to show and describer to describer. And my family will, fill in gaps that they miss, just because there's just not enough time for them to get everything that's happening visually described audibly without overstepping like the other audio that's going on in the show, like whether it be dialogue or something important that's going on with the audio. So
that an issue I have found with audio description is that there is still stuff happening while the actors are talking.
Yeah.
But it has been kind of like a mandatory thing that the audio describer does not talk over the audio.
Right. Yeah, but it's a game changer. It's a big difference. Enjoying a show with audio description on versus with it off, and then even with that, like, there's so much more that you're missing. Like we just talked about. So having somebody that you trust to go back and review video notes is so crucial, because there's so much that how we communicate that's in a visual, way. It's a nonverbal communication. I think it's like 70 to 90% of our communication. So I find that very valuable to have access to. Where are we at?
Have you done any games on his phone?
Oh, she's asking about games. Do you have any games that are really good for that are either voiceover compatible or audio game specific that you enjoy?
Well, I am I mean, I still have enough vision to enjoy video games. So
Okay.
I currently have an Xbox One, and there really isn't any audio description for the games that I have, or at least that I haven't discovered yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I basically, for me, I have like the largest LED screen TV that I can afford.
There's a few different audio games out on the iPhone currently. I think there's probably a dozen or so. Maybe there's more than that, but they're it's kind of in its infancy. This I don't know. It's a few years into it, so I test them out every once in a while, and sometimes I get frustrated with the
Yeah,
the interface with it not working the way I want. You know, different
yeah,
swipes and taps and things not picking up what I want because you're only going off of audio in these games, and it's interesting though because you have to have a good headset. You know, good headset to work it. But
yeah. My favorite thing to do.
Mm.
I need to get the game again. But I used to play Call of Duty Black Ops and Black Ops 2 all the time.
Yeah.
And I would do the online games. And there are some games where me and a friend will be the last players on it, and we're just going out trying to take each other down. And then all of a sudden, I win, and we go back into the lobby, and we're all talking. And I'm like, so how does it feel knowing that you just got your that you just got your butt kicked by a blind guy? and the room just silent at that point. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. It's really funny. Like there's this kind of misinformation and people not understanding that blindness and visual impairment is the spectrum keeps coming up with these interviews that we're doing. And
Yeah.
As we're doing more research into different content creators, I keep finding people, other visual impaired content creators that talk about gaming and things like that. And it's just so funny. Like I can just imagine people's heads exploding as they listen to you talk about playing video games. So we got some more questions there. She's reminding me, have you used BeMyEyes? Are you familiar with that app?
I am familiar with it. I have not used it.
Okay. So there's that. Do you use Skype or FaceTime or any kind of video chat to help you if you need it, if you get stuck with something or need to find something that you're not able to see? Or
Yes. I do use FaceTime all the time. If someone has like a phone that doesn't have FaceTime, at least I'll do it through Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Because they on there. So if I do get like a little bit turned around, I'll just FaceTime and be like, hey, I'm lost. I'm just gonna move my phone around. Can you tell me what street I'm on if you see it? And they'll, okay, so you're like on Bell Road and 90th Street.
Cool.
So that I'll be able to tell once I get my bearings and I know which direction I'm facing and whether it's east to west or north to south.
Yeah.
I'll be able to work again.
Yep. Yeah, orientation like is a big thing. Like knowing your directions and knowing where you are in relation to everything else is huge.
Yeah. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, I'm also partially deaf in my left ear, and working with vocational rehabilitation now because I'm moving to California. I'm getting all the tech that I need for myself as well as for work. And I just had a hearing test, and I actually just found out that I've actually had a little bit more loss in my right ear, which is my good ear. So that's a bad thing. But the good thing is I'm actually being upgraded to 2 hearing aids.
All right.
So at least I'll be able to balance my hearing out, which is also good for when I'm crossing streets. I'll be able to hear the traffic a lot better.
Yep. That's something that I found is priceless. Is the audio cues when you're out walking about. I used to use just one earbud. I would plug one earbud in for getting my navigation going when I'm walking around, and then I got a bone conduction headset, so both ears are now open, and that's been a game changer. Being able to hear traffic and pedestrians and dogs and bicycles and things like that, it's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, even with my guide dog, it depends on everyone's preference, whether they still want to use a cane or if they want to go to a dog. But I can tell you firsthand, transitioning from a dog from using a cane all the time has been a lifesaver because canes are great, but they definitely have their limitations.
Yeah.
You can always miss something and still hit it.
Right.
Whereas is going to avoid everything. So you're still having the anticipation of I'm going to hit something when you first start, but it never comes.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm on a list for getting a dog. But I totally know what you're talking about with the cane. That you're doing that cane pattern. It's like a Z pattern, and there's gaps. And it covers a lot of stuff, but inevitably you're gonna hit things, and you're gonna get clotheslined by things, or you're gonna step in a hole, or it's not perfect. And so, where are we on our questions here?
OCR.
Yeah, I think for OCR, you have magnification. You said the Pebble, and you're getting one that's gonna be able to scan and read to you. Do you know what that is?
Unfortunately, I don't, because I actually have a meeting tomorrow with my vocal rehab counselor.
Yeah.
Yesterday I had a meeting with a company called I Can Connect, which basically will help you with all the big time tech like magnifiers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he told me that there is a Pebble, the same make as this one, but it way bigger, and it's able to scan documents and to be able to read it to you. I don't know what the actual name of it is until tomorrow.
Yeah, let us know. Shoot us an email, because that's what I've been trying to find, is something that's portable, mobile, that I can take to have access to OCR if places tell me I can't use my phone, which I've been running into lately. So I use my phone for everything, because there's Seeing AI, there's BeMyEyes, like it's my navigation. It's all these different things. My note taker, a lot of the stuff that the questions we're asking, like one-stop shop on your phone for most of this for me. And so when they tell me I can't take that, they severely inhibit my ability to engage equally in whatever I'm trying to do.
I totally understand that. I was actually, but before COVID really hit, I was in New Jersey, and a bunch of friends and we were actually on the city bus going to a convention center for the conference that we were going to be working at. And it was, I don't know if you heard of it. Have you heard of Unblinded?
Unblinded?
Unblinded. Yeah, there was a conference I was actually a guest on that was called the Unblinded Movement. And it was basically, it was a big conference for everyone that is blind, but the public was allowed to come in. And I was a guest performing magic. So it was to show people that just because we are blind and visually impaired doesn't mean that we can't find a ways around everyday things to just perform it normally.
Right.
And also to encourage the blind, to find the careers that they want and to find ways around it for them to perform it.
Right. Oh.
But yeah, we were on the bus, and I was using my phone. I was using maps to know whereabouts we were.
Yeah.
Everybody yelled at me for for having the phone on, and I'm like, well, I'm blind. I kind of need to use this. And they're like, no, we have a policy on here. No, you can't use that. You can't have it that loud. And I'm like,
wow,
it's like a half volume, man.
Yeah.
Like, well, you got to use headphones. And I'm like, well, my headphones are back in Arizona. So it's like, I just don't understand why, the ADA can't like kick in to say, if there's a device that aids someone with a disability, even if it uses audio, like on a bus or whatever, that they can't say that they can't tell you not to use it.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be there for, right? It's supposed to be this protection for qualified people with disabilities. When there's a policy, when there's a practice, when there's something that is happening that they have to make an exception to that, right? Their policy is you can't have your phone making loud noises. Okay, that's your policy. Well, federal law under the Americans with Disabilities Act says that you need to make some kind of accommodation. So do you have a headset? Will this bus announce every stop, every intersection? No to those. Okay, then you need to allow me to use this, unless you're going to do it, unless the bus driver, you're going to tell me everything audibly. Then that's an exception. Like, that's an accommodation. Can you do that? And most of them probably won't do that. So then the with the ADA, like, they technically can't just tell you no. By the ADA, they have to put, in order to deny you, they have to put it in writing. It has to come from a department head. They have to explain why, it's a fundamental change or an undue burden. But that's just, it's a parchment barrier, is what James Madison called the Constitution. One of the drafters of the Constitution. It's the parchment barrier, and basically any law or any protection that is supposed to set out to try to help the people with rights, or have equal access. It's the same thing. It's a piece of paper somewhere, right? It's just not going to fly off the shelf and intervene and help us do what we want to do, or have equality. So what other ways have you run into obstacles to equal access, and what kind of steps have you taken to overcome them, or advocate for yourself and others in the blind community?
Well, I do have friends that do have guide dogs, or I have a friend that actually has a epilepsy dog because she suffers from seizures. And we definitely come into situations where we will go into the mall and security will pull us to the side and say, you can't have the dogs in here. It's like, well, you do know your mall is pet friendly. And it's like, no, we're not. I'm like, you have a pet store right there. Dogs. What does that say to your policy? Also, it's having in my backpack, I have in writing the accessibility rights from the ADA. That basically says that any business or organization that is open for the public to use cannot refuse service to anyone with a service animal. You cannot ask for paperwork, tags, or any form of identification. Technically, she does not have paperwork. There's no such thing as paperwork for my guide dog. And it's just like, well, we have a policy. It's like, well, you do know let me put this in a way that you might understand. The ADA would take your policy, write it down on a little piece of paper, tear it up into little pieces and throw it in the fireplace. That's what they do to your policy, because you have to make an accommodation. That's the law. I know that much. I didn't know about the tech part of it, but I do. Every business has to make an accommodation for someone with a disability.
Right. Yeah, it's that broad. There are sections that talk about assistive devices and technology, and there's not an approved list like some people think that there's a specific list of technology that's approved and not approved. That's not the case. It's just like you talked about that hot shot that you use in your kitchen, right?
Yeah.
If you use something that's not necessarily designed by the manufacturer for somebody with a disability to use, as an assistive device, but somebody with a disability has figured out a way to use their product, that's fine. Like, it's perfectly fine, right? Just like your first guide dog, Sinbad, right? Like, wasn't necessarily bred to be a guide dog, but you used him as a guide dog. He got his training, and he worked, and it did great for you. So,
well, yeah, I mean, there's a training process, and he has to pass the training to be a guide dog.
Right, but the point I'm trying to make is you can use any tool that you want, whether it be a dog, whether it be a hot shot, whether it be a GoPro, right? Whether it be whatever device you've figured out is best for you, the qualified person with a disability, to help you mitigate something that you otherwise have trouble doing or can't do. And that's the idea behind the ADA, is to help everybody have equal access and not to limit it, by specific lists, because technology is changing so rapidly. Any other questions we got? Yeah. Do you use anything for personal safety or self-defense?
Basically, nothing physical, because yes, if there is a breach where it's saying you can't come in here with a dog or anything else, basically just word of mouth. I don't like confrontation. Not saying that confrontation doesn't happen, and then that's the point where you really have to advocate for yourself or somebody else that's having that issue. It's just in those situations, instead of escalating a problem, I just try to stay calm so that it's not going to be any worse than it already is.
Do you have a specific situation in mind that happened with you?
There was one. I was denied to come into a donut shop with my dog. It's a place called Bosa's Donuts, and they how do I say this? They didn't speak English. They didn't speak Spanish. I think they came from Asia,
Okay.
around that, and they were just saying to tie the dog outside.
Right.
And I'm trying to explain to them, and they just kept using, "Oh, no speak English, no speak English."
Right.
It wasn't until one of the customers came up next to me and said, "You do speak English. You took my order and you spoke perfect English. This guy is disabled. He has a service dog. By law, he's allowed in here." And they shut up after that point until that customer left. Then they kept going back to you need to take the dog outside. And basically at that point, I'm like, look, you have two options. You can either just let me in here, which I have a legal right to do, have my drink, and I'll be out of here, or I can call the police. And unfortunately, it got to the point where they were just being so belligerent, I had to call the police, and the police told them that they couldn't do that.
What state was that in?
Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know of any of the state law? Are you still in Arizona or are you in California? You're in California now, right?
I'm still in Arizona, but I'll be moving to California by the end of this month.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it varies from state to state as far as the laws go with disability rights. And what we've been finding from doing some research is it's very similar to the ADA, where it doesn't really have much enforcement behind it, and the kind of consequences and penalties are more civil, meaning it's on the person with the disability to either file a complaint with the DOJ, the federal level, or to file a suit, a civil suit at the state or federal level in order to try to get justice. And so that means there's no justice for months or years to reconcile an issue if there's been an injustice because of a disability, right? So you can call the police all you want, but the police may come and say, okay, well, this is a civil issue, or they may not even respond. In a lot of states, they say, okay, well, that's a civil matter. We can't do anything. There's no enforcement we can do.
Yeah, I understand that. The good thing is with guide dog schools, they actually do give out an ID card that has a picture of you and the dog saying that you have been certified as a working team together. And it actually does have the police penal code on the back that will take them directly to the state and federal law.
And that was for what guide dog foundation did you use again?
Guide Dogs of the Desert.
Guide Dogs of the Desert, and they're based out of California.
They're in California. They're in Whitewater, just outside of Palm.
Cool. All right. Yeah, there's not in North Carolina here. There's really nothing as far as the state law goes. It's all civil. It's on the person with disability to try to seek justice. We're finding a lot of the justice, quote unquote, justice system here in North Carolina is pretty old and draconian and messed up, not really interested in actual justice. So we're
watching your videos, I'm kind of like surprised on how things are working over there.
It's bad. So I think we got one or two more questions. How active are you in the blind / visually impaired community? Do you have, friends that you connect with, and what kind of activities do you do?
Well, actually, I have a friend. Her name is Rachel. She actually just got married the other night, so I went to her wedding, but they couldn't find a DJ. So I did a bunch of research on how to DJ, and that there are apps that you can use, and they're actually super friendly. So I actually surprised her as a wedding gift to be the DJ for her on her wedding. But hilarious because of the fact that the Bluetooth speaker that I have, it's like a big, huge speaker that you can hook up microphones to it.
Okay.
But it was hilarious because halfway through the music, you hear a voiceover going on trying to pick the next song.
Yes.
So there's that. I'm still involved with the Foundation for Blind Children. I'm still friends with the teachers there. Like I said, back in January, I did the Unblinded Movement. And also been able to work with Guide Doctors of the Desert. I've actually done fundraisers for them. So I'm very, very much involved within the blind community, you know, just being able to help and advocate for others as much as I can.
Cool. Yeah. So like we mentioned before, we found you through Blind to Billionaire YouTube channel and, reached out to you, and we're glad that you answered our email. And actually, I think you answered a comment on your channel, and then we connected. So that's really cool. We're trying to get connected with different blind and visually impaired content creators and do more of these interviews. Other forms of entertainment that you enjoy. I think I heard on one of your videos that you play the drums. Do you do any sports, anything like that with like any visually impaired sports?
I do play goalball. That it's a very physical sport, I can tell you that, but it is definitely fun.
Describe for the audience what goalball is.
Goalball, basically, it is a sport that can be played whether you are sighted or not. It's basically, if you're not, you don't have to wear a blindfold, but if you are sighted, you have to wear a blindfold. And from what I've experienced, what they do is they take skiing goggles and they duct tape the heck out of it with black duct tape so that there's no way you can see. So it's a fair game for everybody. And basically on the court, they usually use a basketball court, but on the edges of where you need to stand as well as the court, they actually tape string underneath it so that you can feel where your position is supposed to be.
Yeah.
The idea is that there are 3 people on each side of the team. I mean, there's multiple people in a team, depending on who wants to go in and who is going out. But during the play, there are 3 people on a team, 1 in the middle and 2 on either side. And there's a ball that has, it's kind of like a basketball, but it's been hardened and hollowed out, that has holes in it, and there are chimes inside of it. So the idea is to roll the ball from one side of the court to the other, and you have to listen where that ball is, and you have to stop the ball from going over you or past you in order for them to score a goal. But the problem with this being, as I said, it's a physical sport, is that sometimes the team can throw that ball really hard, and having a hard ball hitting you in the gut, not the most pleasurable feeling.
That's awesome.
So it's an active sport. It is fun, but wear knee pads and shoulder pads.
Yeah.
It's one of those games. Other than that, I like bowling.
Yeah.
Very much, even though I can't see, but I've actually found out with my iris vision, I can actually see the pins pretty well.
Wow. And
I know which side of the lane to stand in order to try and hit that down, which actually, with the iris vision, I have actually increased my game pretty well.
I bet. Right on. Well, do you have any lasting comments or questions for us?
Not really questions, but just for all the blind viewers out there, is just take the time to learn what your rights are, to know that you do have people that are there to, have your back when it is needed. And also just don't let yourself be put in a position where people are saying, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, because that's their opinion. Whereas the real case is you can do things. It's just you need to find the loophole for you to pull it off. And there are multiple loopholes, whether it's using technology or feeling around for something. There's a guy on TikTok, and he's called the Blind Woodsman, and he actually does a lot of woodwork, and he's learned how to do this just by feel.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely amazing. I mean, even me, I'm a magician, and I do something that most blind people don't do. I mean, there's me, and we also talked about the card mechanic, the other blind guy that does card magic and everything. You know, just the fact that we do that means that, you know, it's not easy, but it's doable.
Right.
You need to push yourself to try and achieve it.
That's great. Great advice.
Yeah.
You know, you run into some obstacles, you got to figure out a way to overcome. Sometimes you have to go around it. Sometimes maybe some sleight of hand.
Push it.
And I love it. You got anything?
Like to Emily, they said, "You don't look blind."
Yeah.
You have a little quick.
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
She asked, what's the funniest thing that somebody's said to you about, you know, whether it be your performance or just out and about in life related to your visual impairment?
Well, I have two for just being out in life. Well, actually, make that three. So it was my freshman year of high school. And by this point, I was sick and tired of people just bullying me and, you know, making blind jokes and everything. And the first day I had a senior come up to me, was like, "Oh, cool. So you're new to the school?" "Yeah." And you're blind?" "Yeah." "How many fingers am I holding up?" And this is one of the questions I absolutely cannot stand. So I just looked, I'm like, "You don't know? Man, this school sucks."
Yeah.
Away, and that literally caught him by surprise, because he's just like, "Oh, this is a guy that doesn't take any crap." So he actually eventually became one of my best friends in high school.
That's funny.
Apart from that, I've also been said, you know, walking in the streets, walking to like the bus stop, trying to go home.
Right.
I've had someone watch me and be like, "You know, you don't act and look like a blind person." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't? Did I leave my hobo clothes at home again?"
Yeah.
And this one was just an incident, but I've had, fortunately, I had two of my friends that were actually in the lane over at an intersection that saw the whole thing. But there was a lady who stopped her car right in the middle of the pedestrian walkways. And my dog has been trained to not go in front of the car,
Right.
because that's incoming traffic, and even going behind, you don't know when the light's going to change.
Yep.
And you might, or there's not enough space. So she stopped there, and I knocked on her window because my dog stopped me for the car.
Yeah.
And like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, can you back up, because you're blocking the pedestrian walkway, I need to get by." And she said, "No, there's no way for me to go." And I'm like, "Seriously? I mean, can you put your reverse lights on to see if they back up?" She's like, "No, I can't do that." And it's either I stay in a pedestrian walkway and have a huge chance of being hit by a car, or I do something about it. So I opened her back door, got in, pulled the dog in behind me, closed the door, and then opened the other door and got out. And
Oh
just
my gosh.
and the lady, according to my friends, had a look on her face like, "What just happened?" And they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm so glad I did that."
Oh, that's so dangerous though. You never know, like that's so dangerous going in someone's car. You could get shot or something. Oh man.
That is true, but it's at a point in my life where I am just so sick of just being treated like a second-class citizen.
Yeah. That's one of the main reasons I wear a body camera anytime I'm out in public. Like it's great for note taking. You know, if I'm trying a new route out, you know, I run into obstacles and like, man, that route really sucked, and I play it back for my wife, and she's like, "Yeah, across the street it was clear. You know, there's a sidewalk over there." I'm like, "Okay, that's good to know." You know, or if you know there's a tense situation, or if you know somebody's blocking something, or if I run into a sign or different obstacles that I want to let the owner know, you know, there's that documentation like, "Hey, this is actually a problem, please fix it."
And that's also something that I would like to point out is a lot of places, they don't know the law in general. The law states that you can film in public, that is totally legal, even if people are like, oh, it's illegal to film me. And it's like, well, we're in public, so I can. But the thing is, the ADA says that if you are being treated wrongfully, like if it's a service dog denial or if it's just because of your disability, you can film for documentation purposes, even if it's in a store that is not considered public access, or sorry, not public property. You can film your situation for documentation purposes if you're going to file a complaint with the police or the ADA.
Interesting. I wasn't familiar with that section. Could you try to find that and send it to me?
I will. Yes, I do believe it's on the ADA website, but I'll find that and I'll link that to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because for documentation, because it's your word against theirs, but
Right.
they see, even if people are happening, they might change it.
Yeah. You got the word of a blind witness versus other people that can see. So
you have that. You need to have that sort of documentation for yourself, so that you can prove to the police or whoever that this is what happened.
Yeah.
Like someone like I listen to Karen's videos all the time. There are some situations where they were like, well, he hit me.
Right.
And check the security cameras. I guarantee I haven't hit her. And then they see that the lady turned her around so that she's the victim.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's nice to hear those stories where the person in the wrong gets what's coming to them.
Yeah. There's plenty of cameras going on everywhere you go anyway. Might as well have one on your body that you can use, to back up what happens with you. And I think people are just in denial about how the public treats people with disabilities, especially people with visual impairments and blindness. Like it's very common to be mistreated and neglected and treated as less than. And thanks for sharing some of your stories and your ways that you overcome and surmount the obstacles. And
exactly.
Thanks for coming on the channel.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we have Ryan with The Amazing Blind Magician. Is there any other plugs out there? Are you on any other platforms?
Well, actually, I just started a new YouTube channel, and it's called Guide Dogs 101.
Okay.
There aren't videos on there. I'm planning to have my first video when I'm moving from Arizona to California, and I want to have that travel video as my first video. So at the end of the month, that is when that video is going to be on there. But if you guys want to go in there and subscribe so that you're prepared for when that video comes on, at least you'll get the notification.
All right.
From that, the Amazing Blind Magician channel is going to stay up. I'm going to definitely have the videos that I do in there, whether it's magic shows or just vlogging on there. So if you guys want to, please consider subscribing to that. And, I really hope you guys enjoy the content.
All right, Ryan, you take it easy. Say hi to Tia. Take care. And again, thanks for coming on the show.
No, thank you very much.
All right, man.